Hello, Bravs. Hello, Brav. Hello, Bravs. I guess that's enough. Let's get to some books. I haven't done one of these in a while because I have done the live streams, but I'm not doing it because I'm bored. These are from the last 10 or so days. Get these out of the way first. More murder books for me mother. That's all she does is read murder books, so that's what she likes. She gets them, bruv, and then I get them back. I think I now have 200 true crime books. Well, 200 specifically true crime. Plus I have a Michigan section of true crime, which is about 10 to 20 books. Murder in the Peace Corps. This girl. They got her. This book, Killer Among Us, Public Reactions to Serial Murder. To Michelle, best regards, Joe. Why does this fucker keep going into landscape mode? And the reason why I don't film in landscape is because they reject them, so I'll just do them in this mode, bruv. What does that say? Jack the Rip? Jack the Ripper, Jeffrey Dahmer, Wayne Williams. Anyway. Then there was one more. Where is it? True Stories of Law and Order. Kevin Dwyer and Jerry Fiore, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, I hated that show. Dun, dun, whatever. Can't stand that bullshit. Probably have 5 copies of these, but since Shel Silverstein is a sellable product. To Maggie, love mom. It's even got the CD. 4/21/07. So what's that, 16 years ago? I think Maggie, I have a hot dog for a pet, the only kind my folks would let me get. He does smell sort of bad, and yet he absolutely never gets the sofa. Shut up. I read that bullshit. Pigs in the Parlor. I've sold this book previously. Practical Guide to Deliverance. I'm not quite sure what deliverance is, but I do like the pigs. If you really believe Jesus delivered people, oh, that's what deliverance is, from evil spirits, then you owe it to yourself to read this book, bruv. Learn that it still happens today. This book contains a wealth of practical information for the person interested in planning to engage in or actively engage in the ministry of deliverance. It is a practical handbook offering valuable guidance as to determining how demons enter. Okay. This will go into my local section, right over there. So nice that it's clean. This fucker was just stacked with stuff that I was going to get to, and I'm like, I'm never getting to it, buddy. I can't get to it. I don't have enough hours in my life to get to this shit. So, I will get to it when I can, but it's not going to be in this room. I don't really know anything about Henry Ford the Tooth and Henry Ford the Choof, a life of him. Kind of looks like Hemingway, a bum Hemingway. If industrialists are given leave to fall prey to the same... That's bullshit on the back here. To fall prey to the same passages and emotions that plagued the rest of us, Henry Ford, too, went far considering the background he had to overcome. Detroit, more than most cities, can reach into its archives and pull out file after file on the subject of squandered fortunes. Hey, that's my man. Not my man. He was rich as hell. Eber Brock. I guess his family really didn't squander it because I think all of his real children with his first wife, I guess they were all real, but his first children with his first wife were, I think most of them died before the age of 30. So they didn't really squander their. Actually, the mother, the stepmother, took most of the money, bruv. And then Clara Ward, even though she was declared a spendthrift and was put on a budget, she ended up dying with millions left. I mean, she spent probably $5 million, but which is almost impossible back in the early 1900s to spend $5 million just on wasteful wants, but she did it. Anyway, I don't care about Henry Ford Tooth. I don't really care about Henry Ford one. Alva, the Vanderbilt Belmont woman. Look at this bitch. I've got the royal gob. Her story as she might have told. Wait, her story as she might have told it. So she didn't. There's votes for women. If you have ever experienced the romance of railroads, I have not. The lore of great architecture. The lure of its magnificent interiors, the joy of fine music and good opera, the excitement of cruising the world. Nothing sounds more boring than cruising the world. I mean, it's nearly hell just traversing these local roads. Why the hell would I want to travel across the world? Anyway, I'm sure she's part of the Illuminati at some point, so I grabbed it. You can't be neutral on a moving train. Look at this fucking guy. A personal history of all times with a new preface by Howard Zinn. I believe I do have this communist up here somewhere. No? Yeah, I do. There it is. Terrorism and War. A People's History of the United States. And this is Bro Chomsky. Or are they enemies? The Man versus the State. Herbert Spencer. So yeah, an Inspire autobiography. Oh, it says autobiography. No, it says history. The personal history of more than 30 years of fighting for social change. Shut up. Stop, just stop. There we go. The Devil in the Kitchen, Sex, Pain, Madness, and the Making of a Great Chef. Marco Pierre White, who I only know of through Gordon Ramsay, who's a psychopath himself. But he's quite funny. I don't think I've heard much. Seen a few interviews of this guy. Seems like a real prick. All for food. I mean, if it was something that mattered and not expensive food, I would have a little more respect for him, but he's still less cringeworthy than, what's that prick's name? Bourdain, who the Illuminati murdered. This book, I saw, sorry, I'm an Englishman, $355.04. I saw it when, I can't remember what I did. I went back because I always double check books, or at least the racks, because I have fast eyes and I scan past some good books on occasion, although I've come to memorize many spines. But Lorraine, and Ed Warren have always seem like charlatans to me. Then again, most of these ghost hunter people are. What's her name? Mary Ellen Guiley. Who's that fucking guy? The one with the giants. He reminds me of Jesse Ventura, but he always talked about giants. He was on Coast to Coast. Every time that guy came on, I just was furious. Even though I do have 2 books on giants, I think. The Isis Papers, The Key to the Colors by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Whoa. Oh, that's right. This, I think, is a local... Is this a local book? No, this is the Isis, not the Isis. This is like some kind of Afro psychology or something. Which is why I grabbed it. Keys to the Color is a collection of essays I have written over the past 18 years. Following the presentation and publication of my first work, The Cress Theory of Color, Confrontation, and Racism. The first paper was a theoretical statement of genetic theory and world outlook on the origin and meaning of the global white supremacy system. The theory summarizes and clarifies our experience as black, non-white peoples on a planet presently dominated by people who classify themselves as white and who are a minority of the world's people. So yeah, I'll grab any book that's race relations. Never read it. But there was supposedly a Malcolm X house in Inkster, and they were supposedly going to open 73 years ago here, but they're going to remodel it and have a library. And I said, hey, I'll donate some books. And like 3 or 4 boxes later, and they still haven't even done the rudimentary fixings on the house. So, I mean, they'll probably eventually get knocked down, and then I'll just sell these books, or I'll just have my own collection of, I have blaxploitation books like Iceberg Slim and that sort of thing, but I also have quite a selection of, what do you call it, African American literature. Unequally Yoked Wives by C.S. Lovett. This book was interesting because it has all these little things about what wives and husbands should do here. Let's read a little bit of it, bruv. The Holy Spirit is then in a position. Let's see what it says. Oh, I dropped it. One more chance. I fucking drop it again. It's going back into the box. Or on the shelf, and then not reading this bullshit. Click. I'd love to go to that meeting. I'm sure it would strengthen me to be a better wife. But since you forbid it, I won't go. I want to do what you ask. I want to please you as long as I can, because I know it pleases the Lord Jesus to have me please you. You know it is because of him that I am obedient to you. Another time your words might ring differently. Click. What's this click? If your husband is a violent man, given to rages and temperamental outbursts, you must have occasion to fear for your safety. Therefore, I will leave open the matter of how often and just when to apply the squeezes. You and the Holy Spirit will have to decide the timing, bruv. But, I should say love. But the notion I would build in you is this. The harder and more often you squeeze your husband, the sooner the matter of his salvation will be settled. One way or the other, bruv, love, it would not be right for me to insist that you follow a plan which could bring harm. If he beats the shit out of you, love, then you're not getting closer to Jesus. Therefore, reserve for yourself the precise moments for using the nutcracker. However, it does take pressure to work. You must keep building the pressure to get desired reactions from him. And we have been thinking of what it means to him to make you stay home from church. All right, so that's the lead up to that statement, and then we're back to the second click. All right, dear, I'll stay. I love to please you, doing as you ask. But the Bible also tells me, bruv, I should be in fellowship with other Christians. The Lord Jesus has made it clear that his people are to be together. I feel terrible bringing this dreadful responsibility on you, bruv. Here I am causing you to go against the Lord. I'm so sorry, dear. Click. It's terrible to be such a pest to someone you love, but I must ask if I can go. Alright, I've seen enough. Simply chakras. Now, mind you, I don't believe any of this bullshit, this butter churning bullshit, but, you know. This beautifully illustrated book presents ways of healing the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual problems that arise when the chakras, spinning vortexes of energy throughout the body, are blocked, misaligned, or chew open. It introduces the chakras and how they affect different people. Yeah, that's beautifully illustrated. Kundalini, bruv. Look at this. It's like the same photo. Come on. It's the same one. Which crystals? That's it. I can't. When you get the crystals, I know you're just trying to make money off people. Get in there. Moonchild on a Rainbow by David John Cleese. Including Cup and Salsa, bruv. Jennifer Radowski. To Jennifer. What does that say, bruv? What's that say? Can't understand. With love, maybe? Moonchild on a Rainbow. Life may be seen as moving through stages, much like the seasons, with each stage fading into the next largely unnoticed. Were we to stop and look at each season, bruv, what would we see and feel? Which would be perceived as the first or even final stage in our seasonal existence? What would be the essence of summer, fall, winter, or even spring? Moonchild on a Rainbow, a book of songs about spring, opens with an invocation in the form of a question. When? I'm going to tell you when, buddy. Children of the Rainbow, a sermon and song. I believe in you. I believe in God, who is in you. I believe that you are in the process of becoming like God. I believe that the closer you come to him, God's Spirit, you will become a blessing to others. I only bought this because it was locally printed by printed by Harlow Press. 50 Victor. The hell is that, an address? Butterfly was previously published. Moonchild on a Rainbow, an invocation. When, God, when? Maybe then, sometime after the storm. Maybe then, after the roar of thunder's dark passion and flash of lightning's dim reason. Maybe then I can dance with you. Oh, living God, oh, loving God, on the top of a rainbow in a sky that is churning from dirty gray to sunny blue. Maybe then I can dance with you, but when, God, when? You see why I could not resist this book. To be honest with you, it looks like Colonel Sanders as a woman, perhaps in drag, is probably the best book of my find. The movie Barfly by Charles Bukowski, which is him. He was in the movie briefly. Henry Chinaski was played by, which is Bukowski's alter ego, by Mickey Rourke, and then there's Faye Dunaway. She was probably the best part of the movie, Faye. Baby! Although Mickey Rourke was pretty good, though. Most of his parts, especially with Frank Stallone, were somewhat almost vaudevillian. Let me pontificate. Vaudevillian excess, exaggeration. Was there no text in here? All photos? That's Charles Bukowski, bruv. Is it Buscemi? Fat Buscemi. Bukowski with Barflies, Joe Rice, Dennis Latona, Henry Cohn, and Sonny Payson. Great gang to hang out with. Lady Everything here seems to read none. Hobbies none. Religion none. I love corn. I want to pick some corn. Wanda climbs towards corn. Henry follows her. Yeah. Used to have a decent Bukowski collection, but I sold it back in the day when I needed some money for things concerning my child, so I sold off my Bukowski collection for quite a good price. This book I bought because I thought it was one of those so-called banned books, but I don't think it is. It's a fat little fucker. The esteemed and prescient critic John Hollander wrote that Frog represents a new phase of Stephen Dixon's work and manifests a new concentration of creative power and unfailing rhetorical control. Let's see this fucking rhetorical control. I always hear these. It's just brilliant stuff, and it's just twaddle. Get away from here now, or I'll not only call the doorman and the super, but the police. And then went away from the door. You could hear her footsteps on the wood floor. The second time she came, she said, "I'm not playing around with you, sir. You continue to ring and don't get off this floor. I will call the police. I won't fold in my hands. Dot. Book is fucking rubbish. But I bought it anyway. I mean, alright. I was looking at this book earlier. Wilkie Collins, The Evil Genius. Let's just read a couple pages from this. And you tell me if Frog would even make the dustbin of this fucking book. The Evil Genius, before the story. Miss Westerfield's education. The trial. The gentlemen of the jury retired to consider the verdict. The foreman was a person doubly distinguished among his colleagues. He had the clearest head and the readiest tongue. For once the right man was in the right place. Of the 11 jurymen, 4 showed their characters on the surface. They were the hungry juryman who wanted his dinner, the inattentive juryman who drew pictures on his blotting paper, the nervous juryman who suffered from fidgets, the silent juryman who decided the verdict. Of the 7 remaining members, 1 was a little drowsy man who gave no trouble. 1 was an irritable invalid who served under protest. And 5 represented the vast majority of the population. Easily governed, tranquilly happy, which has no opinion of its own. The foreman took his place at the head of the table. His colleagues seated themselves on either side of him. Then there fell upon the assembly of men a silence never known among an assembly of women. The silence which proceeds from a general reluctance to be the person who speaks first. It was the foreman's duty under these circumstances to treat his deliberative brethren. I got a good tongue roll on that. The brethren, as we treat our watches when they stop. He wound the jury up and set them going. Gentlemen, he began, have you formed any decided opinion on the case thus far? Some of them said yes, and some of them said no. The little drowsy man said nothing. The fretful invalid cried, "Go on." The nervous juryman suddenly rose. His brethren all looked at him, inspired by the same fear of having got an orator among them. He was an essentially polite man, and he hastened to relieve their minds. "Pray don't be alarmed, gentlemen. I'm not going to make a speech. I suffer from fidgets. Excuse me if I occasionally change my position. The hungry juryman who dined early looked at his watch. 4:30, he said. For heaven's sake, cut it short. He was the fattest person present, and he suggested a subject to the inattentive juryman who drew pictures on his blotting paper. Deeply interested in the progress of the likeness, his neighbors on either side looked over his shoulders. The little drowsy man woke with a start and begged pardon of everybody. The fretful invalid said to himself, "Damn fools, all of them." The patient foreman, biding his time, stated the case. I mean, this league's above frog. Frog. Curious Customs, the stories behind 296 popular American rituals. Jack-o'-lanterns, bruv. Let's pull open this page, what we got. Popcorn at some movies. Little maple syrup and the tomato. Popcorn was a gift from the New World to the Old. Radiocarbon testing has dated the ears of New Mexican popping corn at 5,600 years old. And the paleobotanists now generally agree that popcorn was the earliest form of maize. Columbus in the West Indies and Cortez in Mexico both found the native population utilizing popcorn as decorations. And we remember what Evelyn Scarlett said, don't we, bruvs? If you were paying attention to my Twitter feed. My Twitter feed, which has a massive following of 11 people, 3 of which are probably hookers, internet hookers, and perhaps 1 or 2 a stalker. But yeah, anyway, I don't give a shit about popcorn. Father R. Kreutzwald, old Estonian fairy tales. Now, when I hear Estonian, I think of what's his name? Rodriguez, the obscure Detroit singer who for years remained unknown, even though he wrote 2 pretty brilliant albums in the late 60s. And then they became popular in South Africa, of all places, for a Mexican Detroiter to become literally a legend. And the folklore around his rise was that he had committed suicide or he was shot on stage or some shit like that. But anyway, these 2 guys were just bamboozled by the albums, and then they tracked down Rodriguez. And then after 30 years after he wrote those albums, he became a legend again in South Africa, and he went there and played. Anyway, he has one song where he mentions the Estonian angel. This reminds me of. I don't even know where Estonia is. I assume it's by Russia. Look at this fucking guy. Looks like Stalin's fucking butler. His Dick Butler. The Headless Hobgoblins. There we go, buddy. A parson had for some time been looking for a servant who would beside his other duties ring the church bell every midnight. So yeah, I got a shitload of. Now that I have them all sorted and restacked, that is my whole section of folklore, except for the Mary Roach books. Well, it's folklore, nursery rhymes, what's that other shit? Fairy tales, folk tales, mythology, etc. You see it, bro. This book will go on that shelf somewhere. Probably on the top by the peanut butter jar. No. The London Cage. The Secret History of Britain's World War II Interrogation Center. I mean, to be honest, the villains of World War II were every country involved. Except for which one was it Finland that was neutral until the Nazis invaded? The tour de force, Helen Fry's absorbing and authoritative account of how Britain's wartime spies used both brutality and guile to get vital intelligence out of German prisoners of war, is a shocking, fascinating read. Bet it is. I'll never read it. The Red Ed of Auschwitz, a true story. Mostly, I don't like these happy stories of I survived the death camps. Just because, I mean, what's the point? Upon arrival, Rosie's head is shaved, and along with the loss of her beautiful head, now that is a tragedy, they shaved her damn head. She loses the life she once cherished. Among the chaos and surrounded by hopelessness, Rosie realizes the only thing the Nazis cannot take away from her is the fierce redhead resilience in her spirit. I wonder if this is... When I turn in and Leah is almost 10, Mama brings us to a seamstress. That's why I don't like these kind of stories. Prefers Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago. Much more grim realities of what happens when you allow government to take over any facet of your life. And I mean any facet. I'm not the kind of gal people would think to see on stage. I have red hair. Some say that doesn't deserve the spotlight. My skin is pale and I'm usually half sick. Anyway, worse than my dislike of concentration camp tell-alls. No, I guess they're not tell-alls, they're biographies. Is the fact that I'm going to sell that book because it's worth about $20. Guess what I'm saying is I don't really like these inspirational stories. I mean, this is one of the more revolting books. A Woman's Guide to Cannabis. Using marijuana to feel better, look better, sleep better, and get high like a lady. Just the smell of weed makes me want to hurl as such. And for the reason that it's a dummy